It's now middle of June, and I'm coming up on my first 6 months here in Vietnam. And so I thought I would share with you just a bit my thoughts about the process when I first arrived to now, and some of the things that I've just sort of noticed and learned along the way. So I guess we'll just kind of jump into that. Maybe I'll put some pictures here to just kind of illustrate along the way. In no particular, well, I'll put them in chronological order, but I'll just share some pictures, background of what I've been doing here in Vietnam since I got here. Um, when I arrived in January of 2019, um, I'd done what preparation I could. In fact, I had like a year and a half to go ahead and check out other vloggers, as well as look up different things like crime statistics, geography, Google Maps, street views, all kinds of stuff, to get as much of a feel for landing in Vietnam as much as I could. Again, just the resources available on YouTube are really just really helpful anywhere you plan on going. It's just good time spent to kind of get up to speed. I mean, you're always going to be caught off guard with. So when I arrived in Vietnam, I my plane landed about, oh, it was about 1 or 2 in the morning, and I was fortunate that a buddy of mine, Jason Silverman, he met me at the airport, and he was already living here in Saigon. He had just come in from Thailand, and and he's actually still here in Vietnam. He went over to Da Nang, and so it did help to have somebody meet me at the airport. And had that not happened, I had simply planned on getting a taxi to my Airbnb, which I had secured about a week before I came out here. And so I chose to stay at Vin Homes for my original landing spot, and I'm kind of glad that I did, because it was not quite in the middle of downtown. It was a little bit removed, and it's kind of its own little community there. It's also very high end. It's very safe, and so I stayed there a couple of days. I originally booked it for like a week or so, but I ended up finding an apartment much faster than I thought. It turns out, and I'll put a link to it here, there's a really good resource for serviced apartments here in Saigon. It's a very big Facebook page, and they've just got tons and tons of great apartments available for just about any budget you can think of. So, so I landed in Vietnam, and I still remember, even though I had my buddy there and everything, I arrived at night, and so I really couldn't get a feel for which direction was even north south. Not that that would have helped, but um, I felt far more disoriented than when I first landed in the Philippines 7 years ago. Because when I landed in the Philippines, I landed in the daytime, and even though I knew less about the country, I landed and everybody spoke English. So landing in Vietnam, and you'll find a little English here and there, but really you just got to expect that you're not going to be bumping into English speaking people like you would in, say, the Philippines. So the first feeling I had, my first few hours, I remember the taxi going into the city, going to Vin Homes, and I had like no clue. I mean, I couldn't even mentally imagine what part of the city I was in. Again, what direction we were going. Not that it mattered, because I had no point of reference to work with. I'd never been there before. The only thing I knew is that I was heading to Vin Homes, and I'd seen that on the map, but that was about it. So I was really happy to just finally get into my room and get situated, and I was dead tired but excited. And I think I only slept like 2 hours. And right away I got up that morning, met with my buddy, we got my phone going. I started looking for an apartment, and started even shooting video to go out to eat and stuff. And again, that whole breaking in process, the whole first 2, 3 months or so, mostly the first 2 months, um, everything was focused on getting around, and getting around again without an English speaking country around you. It was a challenge, but it was a challenge I knew was waiting for me. And so it very much awakened me. It just kind of kept me alert. And every day I was solving problems, solving problems. You know, how do I order food? What kind of food do they have here? And again, it was a learning process. And so I would say that if you plan on coming to Vietnam versus, say, the Philippines where they speak English, just come with a problem solving mindset. Expect that you're going to run into these little roadblocks, with the language and food and your lodging and navigation. Expect that that's going to be there and do what you can. Like, for instance, Grab was a huge help in navigating my way around. I could just punch in the nearest mall, whatever, and I could get around, or I could order Grab food to be delivered. It was really helpful. And so you do what you can, but even still, as prepared as you might think that you are, you're going to run into, again, little problems you're going to have to solve. And you're going to be solving them all throughout the day. And until you get through that breaking in period and you're kind of like somewhat established, you kind of sort of know what you're doing. So that was my initial landing here in Vietnam. The first 2 months was just I quickly, within a few days, I found the apartment that I have here, and I went ahead and cut my lease, or my assigned time there with the Airbnb short, and they were really good about it. They went ahead and refunded my money and all that for the days that I didn't use, and so once I got past that, then I was here at my apartment. And the next focus for me began, okay, now that I have all my stuff in one place and I have a 6-month lease in place and I'll be here a while. And by the way, I really like my apartment, so I went ahead and extended it for like a year and a quarter. So I'll be here till like March of 2020. So my next focus was then, now that I have something of a home base, now I need to just radiate out. Every day, go in a different direction. Walking is the best way at the beginning. Later, I bought a scooter, and now I have more mobility. But the third and fourth month is where I really spent a lot of time walking around the neighborhood and knowing what food is available. That was a big one. What screenshots I needed, so I could just quickly show them, hey, do you have beef and noodles, or I want 4 pieces chicken, 1 rice to take home. Just already having it. What I would do is I'd pull it up on Google Translate and then save that screenshot. I have a folder on my phone, and I could just quickly, just show them and say, hey. Another quick thing you can do, again, you have to have Wi-Fi, but or you could do this when you have Wi-Fi, save it on your phone. Say, for instance, you like summer rolls, or you like a certain type of soup, or you like a certain type of beef with noodles, whatever. Is just go to Google Images and get a picture of it and save it in a folder. That way you can basically have your own menu on your phone, and so long as they serve it at that restaurant, you can say, I'd like this. Oh, you don't have that? Okay, well then how about this over here, So you start learning a lot of shortcuts because, a lot of people have said in the comments, well, you need to learn the language. Okay, yeah, I agree. But you're not going to get that done in your first 3 months here. In fact, it would take a year to even stumble through with bad Vietnamese, and that's putting some effort into it. Yeah, it is great to learn the language, but unless you're some kind of idiot savant who can pick up a language in 20 minutes, it's going to take you a while to learn Vietnamese. I know it's taken me, a lot of effort, and I'm learning, I feel, very slowly. And then I've got someone, Gina, that I see every day that kind of helps me with the pronunciation and stuff. But even still, it's slow going. So, in the meanwhile, until you are fluent in Vietnamese, you're going to need to come up with all these little shortcuts to make things happen. Because meanwhile, you need to eat, and you need to work out terms with your landlord, and you need to interact with Grab, the drivers and whatever. I mean, you're going to have to find all these different ways to get what you need. And that's what I focused on my third and fourth month is Again, just walking the different streets, going different directions, people, keeping my ears open, and asking people, hey, well, where can I find a good Mexican place? I found a really good Mexican food place here my third week here. And I spent 3 years before I found the first decent Mexican place in the Philippines. But here I found one in 3 weeks, and it was referred to me by this guy Eric, and I really really enjoyed it. In fact, now it's like one of my go-to places. And so that was part of it. This third and fourth month was just venturing out and finding out what's available. I tried the different grocery stores at the different malls, and I found that, okay, I can get certain items at this grocery store, but it's long lines, or I can go to this grocery store, lower lines, but food or prices are a little bit higher, but it's a nicer environment. So there's pros and cons to just even picking out a grocery store. Again, if I just need certain things, I'll go to one grocery store. If I've got all day to kill, I'll go to another grocery store. So there's finding food, and then entertainment. I have a buddy, Vin, and he came in from Da Nang, and he's from the U.S., but he speaks Vietnamese, and he is, Vietnamese, in his background. And so he runs a meetup on meetup.com here in Saigon. So I went to a couple of those and discovered some restaurants, and I'm not much of a beer drinker, but I did find some, an area that has, all different kinds of pubs and bars, which, again, for me is not so much I need a place to drink, but it's a nice social environment in case you want to meet up with somebody, an expat, or go on a date, whatever. It's nice to know where these places are. So not only finding food, but just finding entertainment, things to do. Then I started going to different tourist locations. And there's certain ones, it doesn't matter what country you go to, there's certain hotspot tourist places that everybody knows about. And, so same thing with Saigon. They've got the Benton Market, the Bui Vien area, the food marketplace. There's different places that everybody ends up going at some point. So, I check those out, and yeah, they're touristy and whatever, but, it's kind of neat to just know, they're popular for a reason. And, but once you get past the major tourist places, well, then, you start venturing out on your own, and like I did, going out on my bike and just finding where there was nice places to take a night ride. I don't know if I recommend this for everybody, but I know that in Bohol, Cebu, Dumaguete, and now here in Saigon, what works for me is, as far as learning the navigation of a city, is you go riding at night. You go, like in Bohol, I'd go riding around. I wouldn't even at first go riding until after 11 p.m., and same thing here, 11, 12, 1 in the morning, I'll get on my bike, and I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm going to go look for a Circle K and get me some gummy bears or something. And on that premise, I will then find the Circle K, and then I'll just take the long way home. I'll just go, well, here's a major road. I'll just take that. And if I get lost, I've got Google Maps on my phone, or I could just take the same road back and reorient myself. But you just start going, and then you start connecting the dots, and you're like, oh, this major road connects these two malls, or this major bridge leads me to downtown, or once I'm in downtown, if I hang a left at this intersection, it takes me over to that one coffee place I like. And so getting acquainted was my second and third month here in Vietnam. Now, getting into the sort of the fourth, fifth, and sixth month, that's when, meanwhile, once I got into about my second month here, I started dating, and I can go more into the whole dating thing and the culture here, maybe in a separate video. But to quickly encapsulate that, the dating process here, and I knew this before I got here, is a bit more conservative. It's a bit more normal, really. It's not like Thailand. It's not like Philippines. It's just a normal situation. So I expected that, and it was kind of neat, and it's like, okay, I'm going to meet this woman, and we're just going to have a coffee date. This is not going to turn into like a quickie type thing. It's just going to be coffee, get to know each other, your basic meet and greet, and it'll be maybe an hour or two, and then we're going to go our own ways, and then we'll figure out if there's a mutual attraction, whether we stay in touch or not, or whether they just fade off and you never hear from them, or they block you, whatever. And so I went through that. I think I dated about 6 or 8 different women, but they were all like what I call first dates. It was like, you meet, you had some coffee, and then it's like maybe even chat a couple days after that, but it just goes nowhere. It's like there's no interest on your part, there's no interest on their part, or there's no interest on either part. Or what I even ran into, there was interest on both parts, but the language, they could communicate very well with Google Translate online when they were using Facebook, but in person, they could not speak any English, so it just didn't really come together. It didn't, it was way too much work to be worthwhile. So, I went through that like my 3rd month, and then, again, just by happenstance, found myself as I'm walking up and down the street and waving at people and getting to know people in the community, I just ended up, this one family that runs a restaurant nearby just got a good impression of me, and they talked to Gina, who was their aunt, and said, oh, well, yeah, you two should meet each other. And so next thing I knew, the family, introduced us to each other. And it's been going great. And so that's been like the 5th and 6th month now here in Saigon. Is the emphasis has been now on dating, being in a relationship, getting to know each other, in addition to everything I'm normally doing, which is shooting video, editing, replying to comments, finding new places, discovering places to either shoot video or just enjoy. And then I got other projects that I'm doing. So in addition to all that, I now found myself, involved in a relationship. And, and the experience there has been very welcome, because it came without a bunch of drama. It came without expectations. It's been very much I guess the simplest way you could encapsulate it would be it's been a very low maintenance relationship. She doesn't need me around 24 hours a day. She's not insecure. She's not doesn't need to be joined at the hip. I mean, it's like she's got stuff to do. I got stuff to do majority of the day, most days of the week, and then we just get together in the evening when we're in. She's a night person. I'm a night person. So if we're out, jump on the bike at midnight, there's this place out that they're open till like 2 in the morning. And we'll go there and we'll just have snacks, late night snacks, and kick back and have smoothies and talk. And, that's we're on the same clock. We then go to bed, like say 2, 3 in the morning, and wake up around 10. So it's been a very low maintenance, easy relationship. And it's not what I was used to in the Philippines, where everything was just so rapid pace. It's like 1 second you're having your first chicken dinner, and the next second it's like, well, when do I get to move in and come and meet my family? And, can you help my mom? And my brother wants to start a business. Can you loan me a bunch? There was none of that. None of that. Which kind of leads me to another big observation during my 6 months, and I think it's going to continue to hold true, is that in the Philippines, there is what I would call this desperation factor. The amount of money that the average person makes in the Philippines is roughly equal to the amount of money made here by Vietnamese people who are on the same, social strata, and we're talking about anywhere from, say, $400 to $500, maybe $600 at the most in U.S. dollars per month. That's their budget, right between $300 and $500 a month. And the difference is that in the Philippines, people living on that size of a budget, there's this desperation factor. And because of that, it's like the groundwork from which all these other things spring up. Everything from the scamming or the genuine, there's, plenty of situations where the person you're talking to, they're not lying. They're telling you the truth. They have no money, their family has no money, and their mother really is going to the hospital and there's no money to pay for it. And you're one of the few people they can ask that does have disposable income. And it's not a scam. It's just hard life. Again, they're in a desperate place. They have this expense and they don't know how they're going to pay it. And it could be groceries, it could be their electricity getting shut off, it could be their rent, it could be whatever. So as you socially interact with women, everything that's going on in their life before they met you, all these different problems and such, start coming into your circle, your life. And again, I'm not even talking about scammers. I'm talking about real people with real problems. And if you care about them, you have to decide, well, are you going to help them and how much are you going to help them? To what limit? Where do you set your limit? And that's an important thing that I think a lot of expats don't include in their compassion towards a woman is what is the limit? They don't set a limit. And they don't tell themselves, well, geez, okay, I've only known her 2 weeks, so I'll help her on a 2 weeks level, maybe $50 or something. Now, if you've been in a relationship with them for 6 months to a year, well, then that limit should be a little higher. For instance, if this is the way I look at it, if you've been with a woman for 2-3 months and she's been a good companion and is not what you would call like a gold digger type of person, if they are genuinely a good companion in your life and they ask you and they say, well, hey, my phone broke and I really could use another phone. They're not even asking for an iPhone or anything. But, it's like, yeah, go ahead, help them out. Get them a $100, maybe $200 phone. But if you've only known a girl for like a week or two, and then she says, oh, I dropped my phone in the toilet, I need a new phone, but it's got to be the Oppo, it's got to be this, it's got to be, it's like, forget it. You've only known this girl like 2 weeks. Why would you buy her a top-of-the-line phone? I mean, really. If she's going to leave you because you won't buy her an iPhone, let her go. Just don't hang on to that sort of situation. Now, conversely, getting back to Vietnam, I didn't run into any of that. Not one of the women I dated came to me a week or anything later and said, hey, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? Didn't run into that at all. Nothing. Zero. I didn't, and in fact, a couple of the gals, we'd go to the coffee place or whatever, and as we're ordering, I'm saying, okay, well, what smoothie do you want? What coffee do you want? Whatever. As they're ordering it, they've already got their money out, and they're already like handing it to the cashier. And I asked one girl about it, and I said, well, I'm kind of traditional. If I take a girl out, I'm covering the expenses. I want to pay for the transportation, the movie, the dinner, whatever. I mean, that's my way of saying thank you for taking the time to spend time with me. And she responded, well, the way we look at it, Vietnamese women for the most part here, is, well, if we go out with a guy, we don't want them taking us to a big, nice restaurant. We don't want them spending money on us. And we would rather do something smaller and pay our way so that there's no obligation. We don't owe them anything. This is not quid pro quo. It's like I pay, like Dutch. It's like, well, I paid for my movie, you paid for your movie, we're kind of friends, we're not in a relationship, it's only the first, second date. So they choose to pay their own way much of the time, which was just kind of, again, caught me off guard. I'd heard the stories and the stuff, but I thought, well, maybe that was an aberration. But no, it turns out that actually here, that desperation level, it's not that the need is any different. Because like I said, income-wise, they're making about the same women in this strata. The difference is how they handle it. In Vietnam, turning to an expat to solve your problems is just not, it's not a paradigm. It's not a template. It's, in the Philippines it is. It's like there's a program there. It's like meet the expat, get him in bed, thrill him, now ask him for money. I mean, it's like a step by step syndrome that they're already ready to just apply. Whereas here in Vietnam, I mean, I just got to say, I mean, there is not that sense of desperation. What there is more a sense of self-reliance. There's a mindset that I keep running into with the men and the women who in daily life, in everything, not just dating, but just in daily life, it's like, me and my family, we're going to do this together. I'm going to get through college, and my parents are going to work hard, and I'm going to tutor, and I'm going to work an extra job, and I'm going to get myself through college. Not going to get pregnant, not going to go marry an expat so he can pay for my college. None of that. They're very self-reliant, and it's been a pleasant thing to discover, because I see it so consistently just about everywhere I go. And it has nothing to do with the rich people, the poor people. It's just the people in general. The culture here is very self-reliant. And so anyway, so as I dated, now that I'm in this relationship, it's been kind of, I think, listening to the comments that I've gotten on YouTube about the videos where Gina and I spent time together, and we're doing different stuff. We're going out to eat, or like on Facebook, we'll be like just getting some dinner, or recently we just did a trip to Nha Trang, and then from there we went to Dalat. We stayed at a really nice resort for a couple of days, and a lot of people in their comments were very happy for us, but some people were like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, how could it possibly be that you're doing all these things? You must be paying for everything. She must be like, again, they're applying the Philippines paradigm to Vietnam, because they think, well, all Asian women are poor and all Asian women are desperate. That's just not the case. Again, anybody who's probably traveled to Japan can tell you that you're not going to encounter in that culture the same level of desperation from a woman that you would find in, say, Cambodia, Thailand, or the Philippines. So all things are not equal. All cultures are not the same. And so the thing that I found here in the last 2.5 months here in Vietnam, in the dating realm, as well as in just the culture, is that Vietnamese people are very much into not only being self-reliant, but also interested in taking care of their health. Again, you can find health nuts in any country, but here, like I keep saying, there's exercise equipment at every single park here, and at dawn and at sundown, you see people out there using it. They're out there exercising, they're jogging, they're playing badminton, they're doing, I've even seen some guys out there that were doing bow staff and Tai Chi, and I mean, so many people are exercising here, I mean, it kind of spurs me to be a little bit more conscious about my health. But, it's I didn't see that in the Philippines. I didn't see people working out. I didn't see people getting up at crack of dawn to go out and exercise every day. I didn't see that, and here I see it everywhere. Staying healthy, eating healthy, being busy. Like a lot of the businesses that I see when I walk up and down the street, the little pho shops and soup places, banh mi places that sell fruit. I mean, they got so many just little businesses all up and down the street. It's very common that you'll see someone working in there, and they're like in their 70s, their high 70s, and they're out there. These women or these guys are out there sweeping the sidewalk 3-4 times a day. I even saw this older woman. She must have been like, I don't know, 70 some years old. She was out there sweeping the sidewalk at midnight. I went out to walk to Circle K, and there she was, still sweeping. I mean, just that personal accountability to keep their own portion of the community clean. I just see a whole different mindset at work here, and it's been very welcome. Now, by contrast, my time in the Philippines, you could kind of say it's like a bit rough around the edges, but I still had a great time. I mean, I had a fantastic adventure. I enjoyed my time being there. But the thing is, it's kind of like the difference between camping and going to a hotel. They're both a vacation, but you're kind of roughing it in one and you're kind of taking it easy in another. And that's what Vietnam has been overall since I got here. I keep telling people I'm so spoiled. I really am. Ever since I got here, I mean, my landlord bends over backwards. I even mentioned anything. I mentioned that one of the little support struts on my kitchen chair, I said, hey, whenever you want to replace the chair or fix it, whatever. He was here like, a day later, and he fixed the chair. The other day he passed me and he goes, oh, here, I'm giving everybody, all the tenants, a little towel so that when you do the fingerprint swipe to open the door, if it's raining, you can just keep it in your motorcycle and dry off the glass. That way you get in, people mentioned, hey, there's a really nice balcony up there, but it'd be nice if there was a chair or something. And right away he put in, dining table and chairs, and he even installed a laptop shelf on each side so you could just look out over the city and sit on a stool, work on your laptop. I mean, just in so many ways. Like, I even told him, I said, hey, I had a little trouble logging in the other day to the Wi-Fi, and he put in a repeater. Very next morning, put in a repeater here in the room so that I could get a better signal. I mean, just always, always, always service, 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 service. And I won't even go into the details of what I ran into in the Philippines. I was just lucky I even got my deposit back. So, and that didn't always happen. So I'm spoiled. I really am. I can get food 24 hours a day, healthy food. Again, that's another thing is I think I've discovered like 6 different soups here in Vietnam, and I like every single one of them. And then there's, again, just the spring rolls or summer rolls. There's just so many foods I've discovered. I think one of them is called bansao. Anyways, really good, like vegetable wrapped egg with shrimp and stuff. I mean, just so many, healthy things to eat. Overall, I'm just really spoiled. I really am. So for me, I guess to wrap it up, 6 months here in Vietnam, I love it. I do. Me, But I can see how Vietnam is not. It really is not for everybody. Here, it's a great place to get your thoughts together, to kind of refocus on what you're doing in life. Because you're not going to be distracted with, well, gee, I can just go out and date another girl this afternoon, or, oh, there's another pretty one, talk to her, get her phone number, go out with her, In the Philippines, it was very distracting, I know that's what a lot of guys want. They want a variety of distractions. But, like anything else, it's like when you work in a donut shop, you eventually get sick of donuts in a way. And maybe that's hard to fathom for guys who have never left their home country, and it's a desert as far as the dating situation goes. And the Philippines can look like this oasis, this fantasy island where you go and there's just women everywhere. And it is true. There are women everywhere, and they're very willing and eager to meet. But, when you go through 6 years of that, and you do at least, well, I won't say everyone, but I know in my case, I just reached a point where I was like, there's got to be more. There's got to be more to life than just that. I mean, that's important, just like food and breathing and everything else. But coming to Vietnam, again, brought everything to a normal level again. Now I'm dating and in a relationship on a normal level, not with somebody who is looking to me to solve all their problems. Not somebody who is looking to scam me, not with somebody who is like looking to get married in the next 3 months. I have none of those pressures. None. It's like, we're not even thinking about marriage. It's just, hey, let's just get to know each other, build some trust. Maybe a year from now we'll think about it. And there's no big plans or intentions or expectations to live together. I expect to just have my place. She'll have her place. We see each other when we see each other. It's a very normal, non-drama relationship. And me personally, I find it welcome. But for guys who are used to the Pattaya experience, or Angeles, or even the Philippines in general, I would say that they're probably not going to be that happy in Vietnam. They're going to come here. They're going to be constantly shut down. It's going to be like, oh, she doesn't want to date. She doesn't want to date. She's not interested. She only wants to learn English. She only, wants to be friends. And they're going to get sick of it, and they're going to be gone in 2 weeks. And that's okay, because not everybody is looking for the same thing. For me, it's been a real pleasure to just sort of live my life in peace and focus on things that are important to me, and just enjoy my life. Again, I wake up and I either have my in days or my out days. And my out days, I go and explore and ride the bike and whatever and do stuff. And I don't have a lot of the dramas and worries and, picking up looking at the news online. It's like, like when I was in Mabolo, somebody got shot and killed just a block away. And then 3 weeks before I left, there was a bomb that went off just halfway down the block, which I was awake for, and nobody had to tell me in the news there was a bomb. I heard it, late at night. There's just this sense of, peace that I have here in Vietnam that I didn't have due to, again, just the rising sort of rate of desperation, the crime, and the intensity of the crimes. Not so much against expats in particular, but just the crimes with everything from extrajudicial killings to the drugs to the just what's going on down in southern Mindanao. All that stuff, in the back of your mind, it kind of like you're keeping tabs on it. You don't want it to just spring up on you one day. And whereas here in Vietnam, I don't have that worry. There is no drug war. There are no extrajudicial killings going on endorsed by the president. There's no scamming going on there's scamming in every country, let's agree on that. But the level of it, the frequency of it here in Vietnam, again, I can date without wondering, oh, is she scamming me? Is she going to hit me up for money? Is she going to rip me off? I don't even worry about that here, and the relationship now, which is going into its 3rd month that I'm in, it's just not a factor. I don't worry about her cheating on me or using me for money, or I just don't worry about it. And I can say that the women here, they move very slowly from a friendship into a relationship, very slowly. So it's not like in the Philippines where, yeah, it's easy to get a woman, but it's easy to lose her too, because she'll just as quickly go to somebody else. So I guess to wrap up my first 6 months here in Vietnam, it's been very peaceful. I've had an easier time maintaining my bliss. It takes a little bit more work. I was blissful in Philippines, but it just took a little bit more effort. And again, overall, I'm happy with the environment. I'm happy with the food. I'm happy with the people. I'm happy with the interesting things that there are to do. I'm happy with the cost of living. And it's worth it to find these workarounds when it comes to the language. So for me, I'm loving it, and I see myself here indefinitely. And, a lot of people have asked, are you going back to the Philippines? Yeah, I probably will, as a vacation. There's a lot of different places I'd like to show Gina. But for now, as far as my home base, I'm very happy here in Vietnam. And I'm happy in Saigon. I've been visiting, more and more places nearby. Like I said, Nha Trang and Dalat. And I plan to go to Vung Tau soon. Hoi An and Hanoi are on my list, as well as, what's it called? Not Dalat, but Da Nang, and and still other places. But there's no big hurry. I'll do it as I do it. And that's the great thing about it is I can just go about my schedule and enjoy Vietnam. So that's my first 6 months impressions and experience. And anything you want to share in the comments about your experience in Vietnam, or why you chose to not live in Vietnam, and why you're happier in Thailand or Cambodia or Philippines. Again, there is no cookie cutter answer to any of this. Some places are better than others depending on what that person wants. And so I'd be more than interested in hearing from you guys why you're happier in the Philippines or Cambodia, Thailand, wherever, or here in Vietnam. So until then, I'll see you in the comments, and we'll talk more then. All right, see you then. Bye-bye.